Welcome to Dolphin Dive Daily, your go-to spot for everything Miami Dolphins. If you bleed aqua and orange, hit that subscribe button and join the pod. The Miami Dolphins are standing at a crossroads this offseason, facing one of the most pivotal periods in recent franchise history as they prepare to decide not just who will fill the general manager role, but how the entire leadership structure of the team will operate moving forward. For owner Stephen Ross, the stakes are high. Choosing the right GM is critical, but it's only part of the equation. Miami's front office has been under scrutiny for years, and this represents a rare opportunity to not only hire a top-tier executive, but also recalibrate the power dynamics at the very top, ensuring that the organization can thrive whether or not Mike McDaniel remains in place. The decision is far from simple. It's a balancing act between talent, compatibility, and structure. And the Dolphins must avoid the pitfalls of putting a brilliant GM in place without the surrounding framework to maximize that individual's potential. Albert Breer, the NFL insider from MMQB, has offered some insight into how this could unfold, linking the current scenario back to how Miami approached the trade deadline and hinting at the potential for a more complex organizational structure, one that goes beyond simply hiring a single decision-maker. The opening of the GM position marks the first time since 2016 that the Dolphins have been in this position, and there is a palpable sense that the team could, for the first time in years, conduct an external search that brings in fresh perspective and experience. Dennis Hickey's brief tenure in the role is a cautionary tale, a reminder that the Dolphins have struggled to find long-term stability at the executive level. Ross now has the opportunity to set a tone that could define the franchise for years, but doing so requires a clear vision of how the GM fits alongside McDaniel, the salary cap chief Brandon Shore, and potentially other executives who could form a three-headed approach to football operations, similar to models employed by the Lions and Rams. Breer's assessment frames the situation as one of careful orchestration. If Shore and McDaniel are aligned and the team performs well, Ross may be able to insert a GM into the structure to lead scouting and personnel without disrupting the harmony that has allowed the Dolphins to compete down the stretch. This is where the real challenge lies, not in identifying talent on paper, but in ensuring that the new hire complements the existing power structure rather than clashes with it. Looking at the potential candidates, the options are diverse, each bringing unique strengths and experiences from other NFL organizations. Interim GM Champ Kelly has already been tested in the role and offers continuity, having overseen the team's personnel moves during the season. Alec Halabi of the Eagles, Ray Agnew of the Lions, John Eric Sullivan of the Packers, Ian Cunningham of the Bears, and E. Weidel of the Steelers, John McKay of the Rams, and Josh Williams of the 49ers all represent external options who could bring fresh perspectives and potentially reshape the Dolphins' approach to scouting, player development, and roster construction. Each candidate would have to navigate a layered hierarchy, balancing the authority of McDaniel as head coach with the fiscal oversight of Shore while still maintaining a strong reporting line to Ross. The intricacies of this arrangement cannot be understated. It's far more than hiring a GM. It's about creating a system where leadership is distributed in a way that encourages collaboration rather than conflict, and where each executive can operate effectively without redundancy or confusion. The complexity of this offseason is compounded by the performance of the team on the field. Should McDaniel guide the Dolphins to success in the final stretch of the season, Ross faces a different dilemma: whether to retain his hand-picked coach as the cornerstone of the franchise, while bringing in a GM whose role complements rather than overshadows him. Winning at least 4 of the final 6 games could be the difference between a smooth integration of a new GM and a full-scale overhaul that resets the organization. This conditionality adds a layer of pressure not only on McDaniel but also on Ross to make a decision that aligns with the trajectory of the team. The risk is significant. A misstep in hiring or structuring the front office could undermine the very progress the Dolphins have made, leaving a talented executive frustrated and the team stagnant despite a promising roster. One potential solution that has been floated is a three-headed football operation where McDaniel, Shore, and a new GM all report to Ross, each managing distinct areas of responsibility while maintaining frequent collaboration. Such a structure has the advantage of leveraging the strengths of multiple executives, but it carries the danger of creating competing centers of power if roles are not clearly defined. To mitigate this, Miami would likely benefit from an in-house presence with a management and football background, serving as a vice president of football operations or a similar title, to ensure the owner receives clear, cohesive recommendations regarding roster management, draft strategy, and long-term team building decisions. This layer of oversight could prevent conflicting priorities from stalling progress while allowing each executive to focus on their domain expertise, effectively translating strategy into action without creating bottlenecks or organizational confusion. Another consideration is the perceived attractiveness of the GM role under such a structure. High-caliber candidates often weigh the clarity of authority and autonomy when evaluating opportunities. A GM position that exists alongside a sitting head coach and a robust salary cap executive may appear less appealing, as it could limit their ability to make unilateral decisions or shape the team in their vision. Yet, if managed properly, the triumvirate approach can serve as a safeguard against unilateral missteps, ensuring that each strategic move is vetted and that no single failure can derail the organization. The precedent set at the trade deadline, where interim GM Champ Kelly collaborated closely with McDaniel and Shore, could serve as a model for how the full-time hire interacts with existing leadership, while maintaining a balanced power dynamic. Ultimately, the Dolphins' success this offseason will hinge on a combination of talent evaluation, structural foresight, and strategic patience. Stephen Ross must not only select a GM capable of elevating the franchise, but also ensure that the broader framework of decision-making supports sustainable success. Whether that means integrating an interim candidate, hiring externally, or embracing a three-headed leadership model, the key is alignment. Executives, head coach, and owner must operate from a shared understanding of objectives, responsibilities, and accountability. Ross has shown willingness to give McDaniel the chance to prove himself, but the risk of imbalance looms large if the front office is not designed with foresight. As Miami navigates this critical juncture, the choices made in the next few months could define the franchise's competitive landscape for years to come, marking either the beginning of a new era of cohesion and success or a repeat of past turbulence that has hampered long-term growth. The Dolphins' front office is more than just a series of hires. It is a carefully orchestrated ecosystem, and the coming decisions will reveal whether Ross can successfully chart a course that balances power, talent, and vision in a way that finally allows Miami to rise to its full potential. The Dolphins' off-season strategy represents a microcosm of broader trends in the NFL, where front office architecture increasingly dictates long-term competitiveness as much as player acquisition and on-field performance. The careful calibration of roles, the identification of complementary skill sets, and the attention to organizational culture are all as critical as drafting or signing elite talent. For Miami, the stakes could not be higher. A misaligned front office could negate the gains made by McDaniel and the coaching staff, while a well-balanced structure could allow the Dolphins to leverage the talent on the roster, build sustainably through the draft, and compete for playoff success for years to come. Still with us? Then show some love. Hit that like button and let us know in the comments. What's your take on the Fins this week? Rumors are swirling in the NFL world, and if the whispers are true, we might be witnessing one of the most significant quarterback moves in recent memory. Sources close to the situation are hinting, almost in hushed tones, that Tua Tagovailoa, the young and talented signal caller who has been the face of the Dolphins' offense, is on the verge of leaving Miami for a franchise that has invested heavily in building around him, including a roster that features some of the league's most exciting offensive weapons. This would be nothing short of a seismic shift. The chatter is relentless, coming from insiders who claim the talks have been ongoing behind closed doors for weeks, even months, and that both the front office and Tua's camp are exploring options that could dramatically alter the landscape of the league. There's a sense of urgency in the air, a feeling that what was once considered a distant possibility is now creeping closer to reality. Fans are restless, analysts are buzzing, and social media is ablaze with speculation, with every minor movement or cryptic comment potentially signaling the truth of this unfolding drama. It's the kind of rumor that can dominate headlines for weeks because it touches on so many narratives: the promise of youth, the pressure of expectations, the allure of change, and the intricate chess game that is NFL roster management. For those who have followed Tua since his days at Alabama, the thought of him leaving Miami seems almost surreal. He was drafted with high expectations, hailed as a potential franchise cornerstone, a player who could lead the Dolphins back into championship contention, and yet, even the most talented athletes are subject to the brutal calculus of professional football. where injuries, inconsistencies, and organizational dynamics can shift the trajectory of a career in an instant. The murmurs suggest that despite flashes of brilliance, there may have been underlying tensions, philosophical disagreements about offensive schemes, or concerns about long-term health and fit. Miami, a team known for its colorful ownership and high-stakes ambitions, has historically made bold moves. And the possibility that they might part ways with a young quarterback, who was supposed to be a cornerstone, seems almost emblematic of the league's relentless pursuit of success at any cost. In this context, Tua's potential departure isn't just a transaction, it's a story about ambition, expectation, and the merciless nature of professional sports. A reminder that even the most promising paths can take unexpected turns. The speculation has ignited a frenzy among fans and pundits alike. On one hand, there's excitement, a kind of morbid curiosity about where a player of Tua's caliber might land next. Could a team desperate for a franchise quarterback swoop in and offer him a fresh start? Are we looking at a potential trade that could involve multiple first-round picks? Or perhaps a high-profile player swap that sends shockwaves across the league? On the other hand, there's a palpable sense of tension in Miami, where supporters who have watched Tua grow and fight through adversity are grappling with the idea of losing him. Social media feeds are flooded with debates, predictions, and strong opinions, with some arguing that a change of scenery could be exactly what he needs to reach his full potential, while others insist that the Dolphins are making a mistake, letting a young talent slip through their fingers. Analysts dissect every detail: practice performance, sideline interactions, contract structures, and even the subtleties of locker room dynamics, trying to piece together the puzzle and determine what might actually unfold. The uncertainty is part of the drama, and in a league built on spectacle, the narrative alone is fueling conversations far beyond what the field has yet to show. Industry insiders are hinting that the move isn't sudden. It's been simmering beneath the surface for some time. The Dolphins, despite publicly expressing confidence in their quarterback, may have been quietly exploring alternatives, weighing the long-term benefits of keeping Tua versus leveraging his market value in a trade. Teams across the league are reportedly monitoring the situation closely, with some positioned to act aggressively if an opportunity rises. There's a sense that the balance of power is delicate. Miami has the ability to dictate terms, but the player and his representatives also hold leverage. As the quarterback market remains competitive and franchises are perpetually searching for a young, high-upside leader under center, some insiders suggest that Tua's camp has been proactive in expressing openness to change, perhaps signaling a readiness to embrace a fresh challenge, or simply testing the waters to see what kind of interest exists league-wide. It's the kind of situation where whispers can become roars overnight, and what starts as speculation can very quickly transform into a reality that reshapes the narrative of an entire season. What makes this potential move particularly compelling is the ripple effect it could create. Miami's roster, built with Tua in mind, might be forced to adapt dramatically. Offensive schemes, personnel decisions, and long-term strategy could all shift in response to a quarterback vacancy, potentially triggering a chain reaction of trades and signings. Meanwhile, other teams could be thrown into a frenzy, re-evaluating their options, considering whether to take a chance on a player who has shown both immense promise and occasional inconsistency. The domino effect could extend far beyond the immediate parties, influencing draft strategies, free agent decisions, and even coaching philosophies. This isn't just about one player leaving one team. It's about the interconnectivity of the league, the high-stakes chess game that executives play to position themselves for both present success and future stability. For fans, the intrigue is irresistible. The kind of storyline that dominates highlight reels, social feeds, and water cooler conversations alike. Meanwhile, Tua's journey adds another layer to the narrative. A player who has battled through injuries, high expectations, and intense scrutiny, he now faces a pivotal crossroads in his career. The decision to leave, if it comes to pass, will be as much about personal growth as professional opportunity. Sources suggest that he's weighing options carefully, considering not just immediate playing conditions, but also long-term development, coaching fit, and the chance to compete at the highest level in an environment that complements his strengths. There's a human element here that sometimes gets lost amid the business side of the NFL. The ambition to carve out a legacy, the desire to lead a team to success, and the need to find a situation that maximizes potential while minimizing risk. It's a compelling juxtaposition, the cold mechanics of roster management versus the personal stakes of an athlete's career. And it's this tension that fuels both speculation and emotional investment. Among observers, the buzz isn't confined to traditional media either. Social media platforms have turned into a virtual rumor mill, with every cryptic comment from coaches, executives, or even teammates dissected for hidden meaning. Hashtag trends spike with each new leak, and the rumor itself becomes almost self-perpetuating, growing in intensity and detail with every iteration. Memes, fan theories, and speculative graphics flood timelines, adding both levity and intensity to the unfolding story. Analysts weigh in, offering breakdowns of potential trade packages, ideal landing spots, and even mock scenarios for how different teams could capitalize on the situation. In essence, the rumor has taken on a life of its own, evolving from insider whispers into a public spectacle that spans platforms, networks, and fan communities, and in a league where perception and momentum often shape decisions as much as performance does. The narrative itself becomes almost as important as the actual transaction. What makes this particular storyline so captivating is its unpredictability. In the NFL, quarterback moves are always fraught with uncertainty, but few have carried the combination of youth, potential, and market value that Tua represents. One moment he's the centerpiece of a franchise, the next he's at the heart of league-wide speculation. The ripple effects could alter the trajectory of multiple teams, influence draft strategies, and redefine competitive balance in unexpected ways. And while no official announcement has been made, the signs point to something significant brewing behind the scenes. The sense of anticipation is palpable, with fans, analysts, and executives alike waiting for the next piece of the puzzle to fall into place. It's the kind of narrative that keeps the sports world talking for months. A rumor that refuses to fade quietly into the background, demanding attention and speculation at every turn as the chatter intensifies. One thing becomes clear: if Tua Tagovailoa is indeed on the move, the NFL is about to witness a dramatic chapter in its ongoing saga. From Miami's front office to potential suitors across the league, the implications are vast, complex, and electrifying. And while the truth may still be shrouded in secrecy, the rumor alone has captured the imagination of fans, analysts, and insiders alike, setting the stage for what could be one of the most talked about moves in recent memory. Whether this story culminates in a blockbuster trade, a shocking change of scenery, or a surprising turn that no one saw coming, the narrative is already alive, vibrant, and impossible to ignore. The league thrives on drama, and right now, the spotlight is squarely on Tua, his next destination, and the unfolding dominoes that will follow. The anticipation is palpable, the speculation feverish, and the possibilities, as always, endlessly fascinating. That's a wrap for today's dive. If you're loving the content, share it with a fellow Dolphins fan. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a splash. Fins up!